There is a moment every woman knows. You catch your reflection in a shop window or a photo someone else took without asking, and for a second you barely recognize yourself. Not because anything is wrong with you, but because your hair has been quietly telling a story you didn't choose. Today that changes. If you are over 50 and you have ever felt like your haircut is aging you instead of celebrating you, this video is going to feel like a long exhale. We are walking through 6 haircuts that do something remarkable. They don't just flatter your face. They make you look put together, cared for, and quietly expensive, the kind of woman people assume just stepped out of a private salon in Paris. No harsh chemicals, no drastic transformation you have to be brave for. Just smart, achievable cuts that work with the hair you already have. Stay with me through all 6 because the 4th one on this list is the single most requested cut among women who tell us they finally feel like themselves again. And the very last one carries a secret nearly every high-end stylist uses but almost never says out loud. It is the reason certain women in their 60s and 70s walk into a room and simply look expensive, no matter what they are wearing. So get comfortable, maybe grab your coffee, and let's find the haircut that has been waiting for you. 1. The face framing bob that softens every angle. Let's start with the cut that stylists quietly call the great equalizer, because it works on nearly every face shape life gives you after 50. This is the face framing bob, cut to graze the jaw or just below it, with soft layers that curve inward toward your chin. Here is why this one matters so much as we age. Over time, gravity does what gravity does. The fullness we once had along our cheeks and jawline can soften and settle, and a blunt, heavy haircut with no shape can actually emphasize that shift rather than balance it. But when you introduce gentle face framing layers that curve inward, you create a soft frame that draws the eye upward, toward your eyes and your smile, instead of downward. It is a small architectural trick, but the effect is anything but small. Women describe it as looking instantly more rested, more awake, even on days they didn't sleep well. The beauty of this bob is its flexibility. If your hair has gone silver, the layers catch the light beautifully and add dimension instead of flatness. If you still have some natural color or you're blending in gray, the face framing pieces highlight your best features without demanding a single ounce of extra effort. When you sit down with your stylist, here is the language that gets you exactly this look. Ask for a jaw-length bob with face framing layers, cut wet and check dry, with the layers starting at the cheekbone and softly curving toward the chin. Request that the ends be point cut rather than blunt cut, which keeps the movement soft rather than stiff. And ask your stylist to keep the back slightly longer than the front pieces, which creates that coveted, lifted silhouette when you turn your head. Maintenance on this one is refreshingly low. A trim every 8 to 10 weeks keeps the shape crisp, and on styling days, all you really need is a round brush and 5 minutes with a blow dryer, directing the ends inward. This cut proves something important that we're going to come back to throughout this video. You don't need drama to look transformed. You need precision, and you need a cut that understands exactly what your face is doing right now today, not what it looked like 20 years ago. 2. The long layered cut with a money piece. Now let's talk about a cut that has quietly become the favorite of women who want to keep their length, but still look completely refreshed. This is the long layered cut, paired with something called a money piece, which is simply a soft face framing strand of lighter color right near the front. The name comes from the fact that this subtle placement of light around the face is exactly the kind of detail you'd expect from an expensive salon visit, and it is remarkably effective. Long hair after 50 gets an unfair reputation. Some people will tell you to cut it all off once you hit a certain age, but that is simply not true, and it never was. What actually matters is how the length is layered. Long hair with no layers can pull the face down and read as flat or tired. But long hair with well-placed, face framing layers does the opposite. It creates movement, lift, and softness around your features. Adding a money piece brings light exactly where your eye needs to go. Right around your face, drawing attention to your eyes and your smile rather than letting the length overwhelm your features. This combination photographs beautifully too, which matters more than we sometimes admit, since so many of our best memories these days are captured in photos with grandchildren at celebrations on trips we've been dreaming about for years. When you're in the chair, ask your stylist for long face framing layers starting around chin length and blending down through the ends, with a money piece placed on one or both sides of the part. Request a soft balayage technique rather than harsh foils, because balayage creates a more natural, hand-painted gradient that grows out gracefully instead of leaving an obvious line. This is a wonderful option if you're not ready to say goodbye to your length, but you know something needs to change. It lets you keep the hair you love while completely transforming how it frames you. Maintenance is moderate, a trim every 10 to 12 weeks to keep the ends healthy, and a color touch-up every 12 to 16 weeks depending on how quickly your money piece grows out. Many women tell us this cut feels like getting the best of both worlds, the comfort of familiar length with the impact of something entirely new. 3. The textured shag that brings back movement. Here is a cut that surprises a lot of women, because it sounds bold on paper but ends up feeling incredibly natural once it's actually on your head. The textured shag. This is a layered cut with lots of movement built into it, soft, choppy layers throughout, often with a bit of fringe or face framing pieces up front. What makes this cut so flattering after 50 comes down to one word: texture. As our hair changes with age, sometimes becoming finer, sometimes losing a little of its natural body, a completely smooth, one-length cut can actually make hair look thinner than it is. The shag solves this beautifully. Because the layers are cut at different lengths throughout the head, each layer adds a bit of visual volume and movement, so the hair reads as fuller and livelier, even if the strand count hasn't changed at all. It is an optical trick, but it works because it's rooted in real technique, not just clever styling. This cut also has a wonderful effortless quality to it. It is meant to look a little undone, a little tousled, which actually makes it more forgiving day to day than a sleek, precise cut that shows every flyaway. If you have naturally wavy or curly hair, this cut is going to feel like it was made for you, because the layers enhance your natural texture instead of fighting it. When you sit down with your stylist, ask for a long shag with heavy layering throughout, particularly around the crown and the face, and request some texturizing with thinning shears or a razor to soften the ends and add movement. If you want the fringe, ask for a soft, curtain-style fringe that blends into the face framing layers rather than a blunt, heavy bang, which can read as more severe. Styling this cut is wonderfully low effort. A texturizing spray, scrunched in while your hair air dries or gently diffused, is often all you need. Many women who make this switch tell us it's the first haircut in years that actually matches their personality: playful, a little unexpected and full of life. For the sleek chin-length bob that reads instantly polished. If the shag is about playful movement, this next cut is its elegant opposite, and it might be the single fastest way to look polished with almost no daily effort. The sleek chin-length bob. This is a clean, precise cut that sits right at the chin, often with a slight inward curve at the ends, and it has become something of a signature look among women who want to look effortlessly put together without spending 45 minutes on their hair every morning. There is something almost architectural about a sharp, clean bob. The precision of the line itself signals care and intention, the same way a perfectly tailored blazer does. It doesn't need volume or texture to look expensive, the shape does the work on its own. This is particularly powerful for women whose hair has become finer over time, because a sleek bob doesn't rely on thickness for impact. A crisp, clean line looks intentional and polished even with less density, whereas looser, more textured styles sometimes need extra body to really shine. The chin length placement is also worth noting specifically, because it sits at one of the most universally flattering points on the face, right where it draws attention to your jawline and cheekbones without cutting across the fullest part of your cheek. When you're ready to ask for this, request a blunt, chin-length bob with a slight inward curve at the ends, cut with precision shears for a clean line rather than layers throughout. Ask your stylist to keep the length even without heavy graduation, so the geometric shape stays sharp. If your hair has some natural wave, a light flat iron pass on the ends is usually all you need to maintain the sleek look. And honestly, plenty of women embrace a soft, natural wave in this cut too. It still reads as polished either way. A trim every 6 to 8 weeks keeps the geometry crisp, since precision cuts grow out more noticeably than layered ones. If you've been craving a haircut that feels put together in a photograph and in real life, this is likely the one you've been picturing. 5. The layered cut with curtain bangs. There is a reason curtain bangs have become one of the most requested styling details among women over 50. And it isn't just trend, it's genuinely smart face framing. Curtain bangs part softly down the middle and sweep to either side, blending into the rest of your layers rather than sitting as a separate, blunt piece across your forehead. Paired with a shoulder length or longer layered cut, this combination does something wonderfully specific. It softens the upper part of the face, right around the brow and temples, an area where fine lines tend to be most visible, and where we sometimes feel most self-conscious. Curtain bangs gently cover and soften this area without hiding your eyes, or looking like you're trying to disguise anything. It reads as styled, not concealed, and that distinction matters enormously. The other quiet advantage of this cut is how it works with your natural hairline and part. Unlike a full blunt fringe that requires precise cutting and frequent maintenance, curtain bangs are designed to grow out gracefully, blending back into your layers over time instead of becoming an awkward, in-between length you have to fight with. This makes it one of the more forgiving cuts on this entire list. When you sit down with your stylist, ask for long, face-framing curtain bangs that start around the cheekbone and sweep outward, blended seamlessly into shoulder length or longer layers throughout the rest of the cut. Request that the bangs be cut with a razor or point cutting technique, rather than blunt shears, which keeps the ends soft and wispy instead of heavy. If you have some natural wave or curl, ask your stylist to cut the bangs slightly longer than you'd expect, since curl will cause them to bounce up shorter once they dry and settle. Styling is refreshingly simple. A round brush and blow dryer to sweep the bangs to the side. Or for wavy hair, just a little texturizing cream scrunched through while air drying. A trim every 6 to 8 weeks keeps the bangs from growing too heavy and losing their soft, swept shape. Women who choose this cut often say it's the first time in years they felt like their hairstyle actually softened their face instead of aging it, and that shift in confidence tends to show up in everything else too, the way they carry themselves, the way they smile in photos, all of it. 6. The soft rounded pixie with crown volume. And now the one I promised you at the very beginning, the cut that carries the secret nearly every high-end stylist relies on and rarely explains out loud. The soft, rounded pixie with volume built at the crown. On the surface, this looks like a simple shortcut. But the real transformation happens in one specific, deliberate spot, the crown of the head, right at the very top. Here is the mechanism behind it, and once you understand it, you'll start noticing it in every polished, expensive-looking short haircut you see. As we age, hair can sit closer to the scalp, and combined with subtle changes in facial structure, this can create an overall visual effect where the face appears slightly longer or the features slightly heavier than they used to. Volume at the crown counters this directly. By building lift and fullness at the very top of the head, the eye is drawn upward, and the vertical lift visually balances and lightens the whole face, the same way a heel lengthens your silhouette or a well-placed collar draws attention upward. It is subtle, but it is precisely why certain pixie cuts look effortlessly chic and others can feel flat or severe, and it usually comes down to whether this crown volume was built in at all. This soft, rounded version keeps everything gentle. Instead of sharp, choppy pieces, the layers are cut to curve softly around the head, following its natural shape rather than fighting it, while the crown is cut slightly longer and textured to hold lift. When you're in the chair, ask your stylist specifically for a soft pixie with volume built at the crown, longer layers at the top gradually blending into a shorter, closely cropped nape and sides. Ask them to point cut the top layers to keep the texture soft rather than spiky, and to leave just enough length at the crown, usually 2 to 3 inches, so you have something to work with when you style. This is the detail that matters most for maintaining the look. A small amount of volumizing mousse applied to damp roots, then blow-dried with your fingers or a round brush lifting directly upward at the crown, is what creates that lifted, polished finish every single time you style it. Without that lift, the same haircut can look completely different, flatter, more ordinary. With it, this cut becomes the one that makes people ask where you got your hair done, because it genuinely does look like it belongs to someone who never leaves the house without being perfectly put together. A trim every 4 to 6 weeks keeps the shape crisp, since short cuts grow out more noticeably than longer ones, but the investment in upkeep is almost always worth it for how consistently polished this cut looks every single day, with barely any effort once you know the trick. So here we are, 6 haircuts, 6 different paths to the same feeling, that moment when you catch your reflection and actually smile instead of second-guessing what you see. And if you noticed a common thread running through all 6 of these, it wasn't drastic change or chasing a trend that has nothing to do with you. It was precision. It was working with your face and your hair exactly as they are today, not fighting them, not trying to recreate a version of yourself from decades ago. That crown volume trick we saved for last, that quiet bit of lift that changes everything about how a haircut reads, that same principle of gentle, intentional lift shows up in almost every one of these cuts, whether it's layers framing your face, a money piece drawing light where you want it, or bangs softening your brow line. Looking expensive was never really about money. It's about a haircut that looks intentional, cared for, chosen specifically for you. That's something every single woman watching this can have, regardless of budget, regardless of hair type, regardless of where you're starting from today. If one of these 6 spoke to you, save this video so you have the exact language to bring to your stylist, because saying the right words in that chair makes all the difference between hoping for a good result and actually getting one. And if you're already imagining which cut is calling your name, I would love to know. Tell me down in the comments which one you're most excited to try. This community loves cheering each other on through these changes, big and small. Thank you for spending this time with me today. You deserve to look in the mirror and feel like the very best version of yourself because you absolutely are. If you found this video helpful, don't forget to subscribe to Timeless Wisdom Path.